Hey there. You probably found this video because it's one of like 3 videos about Pokemon chess, because you saw my short first, or maybe because the algorithm decided to bless me with your attention. But no matter how you found this video, it's my first real video on YouTube, so thanks for being here. I hope you enjoy your stay. Back on that short really quick. Go check it out if you haven't seen it already for a quick bite-sized version of this video. I'm not really sure how long this will turn out yet, but given the analytical nature of it, I totally understand if some people want to see a quick, fast-paced version for the memes. This video will just be a chill, laid-back analysis, so sit back, get cozy, or just put me on in the background while you sleep or something. I don't know what you get up to. I actually originally asked ChatGPT to write the script for this video, and weirdly, it was actually pretty close to what happened. It mentioned LittleZ trapping my piece, the sacrifice of my piece, which led to a sneaky checkmate. Kinda weird. That said, it also said epic 3 different times, as well as some other cringy dialogue. So there you have it, folks, the day I beat LittleZ at Pokemon chess. Who knows what other epic battles lie It says epic like 3 or 4 times. Needless to say, LittleZ was a good sport about the whole thing. We both had a good laugh and shook hands, well, virtually since we were playing online. I can't include that, that's so bad, right? But I had to cut a lot out due to the 1-minute short limit. Shorts are limited to 1 minute on YouTube, and I thought it would make a really weird 1 minute and 15-second video, so I just cut out some parts, but I think it was for the better. With this video though, I want to explore more deeply into how I beat LittleZ, the thought processes I had as I played, why Pokemon chess is so cool and unique, and why you should give it a try. Without any delay, let's get into it. Well, first, no, I lied. Please go check out LittleZ's 2 videos about Pokemon chess. He explains a lot of the basic rules that I don't want to waste time getting into on this video. Do you guys want to see a video explaining the basics? There's like no content around this game, and I'm happy to provide an introductory rule set explanation and a guide for new players just to familiarize themselves with how Pokemon chess works. Anyway, I wouldn't be here making this video right now without him and kind of kickstarting my channel and giving me the motivation to get started, so massive thanks to Z for not only creating this game but hosting a live stream where I was fortunate enough to play him and make this video out of. Go support him. I was able to get into LittleZ's lobby thanks to my god tier internet for the low delay, my fast typing, and a little luck. I was honestly really surprised when the site actually dropped me into his lobby. I kind of scrambled a bit trying to get everything set up, but I'll touch on that later. Oh, and one more thing. Just because I don't know if this video will attract a primarily chess audience, Pokemon audience, as far as I know even a Smash audience because it's LittleZ, I'm gonna refer to pieces as type, followed by piece name. This is most easily approachable, as the types are shown by name in-game, and the pieces are, well, pieces. As soon as the game starts, you begin the 3-minute drafting or team building phase. I could probably make a whole video on this topic alone, as there's a lot of nuance that goes into team building. Let me know if that's something you want. I firmly believe there will be no optimal setup that you could find from hours of labbing and strategizing and planning, but that there will be some form of meta going on at any given point throughout the game's lifespan. The game is a little too complex and deep to just find that one starting position that always works the best. For example, in the tournament Z ran with other content creators, a lot of players were using the Ice Queen.
Kid was telling me about how strong he thinks the Ice Queen is, which is why I decided to start running the Fire Queen. Quickly noticing that he's already equipped the newfound meta of Ice Queen, but like all other games today, the opposing Ice Queen was ready to attack, and since it seems to be so popular, I too have become a victim of the meta.
Because it's a very strong offensive type that hits 4 types super effectively. However, after this video, people started to experiment with the pros and cons of running a Fighting Queen, which has the added bonus of hitting a 5th type super effectively, but also has a type immune to it in Ghost, as well as a 5th resistance. Ground Queen also became very popular for hitting 5 types super effectively with only 2 resistances, but again, a glaring immunity in flying. Immunities are a big deal in this game because if your king is immune to the opponent's queen, she's a lot less effective as an aggressive piece, as you can completely ignore any checks or mates from her. Another important thing, you can just ignore check in this game.
This game doesn't even have check. Like, normally moving your king into danger or failing to remove him from danger is deemed an illegal move, but in Pokemon chess, you're allowed to just ignore check and press on in any direction. Hell, you can even just kill the king yourself if you want to.
Why you'd ever want to do this is beyond me, but this also means that the player can put themselves into check, making things like pins that much more important because the game won't just stop you from moving the pinned piece as an illegal move. This makes the team building process very intricate and complex, as you want to see what people are running most often as their queen types. I chose to run a Ghost King here because fighting was a pretty prominent queen type along with ice in the current meta at the time that this was recorded. This is essentially a read for all intensive purposes, for all of you Smash players out there, and there's a risk-reward to choosing your piece typings. You can also say screw the meta and click the randomized team button, which obviously your opponent can't prepare for, and you're not at any notable disadvantages for. Again, I could make a whole video theory crafting the pros and cons of different piece typings. Let me know if that's something you guys want to see. Please comment below, it would help me out a lot. All of that said, the game starts and we see each other's pieces. I got a lucky call and predicted right, with Z running a fighting queen that he chose. Before you accuse me of stream sniping, keep in mind this whole time Z is streaming with a 30-second stream delay. I also had this team saved as I was playing around with it all day. The site currently doesn't have board coordinates on, but I'll put those up for this video so that we can reference it later. We open with a pretty standard e4, e5, arguably the most common opening in chess. When I start my games, I'm initially looking for what type my queen is and which pieces her super effective targets are, and if you can chain their super effective hits. If your capture is super effective, you can instantly move again, which makes the queen's super effective targets extremely valuable to chain together. With that in mind, I immediately see an opportunity. Queen to h5 threatens Z's e5 pawn super effectively. Before making my move, I look at which pieces she can take from there, and if those hits are super effective. This is generally how I start every game, especially when playing as white. It's also important to note that if queen misses taking e5 pawn, Z can't immediately take me back. Each attempt of a take has a 10% chance to miss, like in Pokémon. I can then see that after taking e5 super effectively, I can also take c7 super effectively. If I miss the attack on c7, he still can't take me. From there, my super effective chain stops, but this sets me up for two big opportunities. If I take Z's queen for neutral damage, but I crit, which is a 1 in 16 chance, I can take his king and thus win the game. If I take his queen but don't crit, there's also a chance that his king misses the counterattack, which would also win me the game. Worst case, I take his queen and he takes back, which leaves me up 2 pawns and a positional advantage. He can no longer castle, and I still have momentum. The only way this entire sequence can go wrong is if I miss the attack on his queen after taking c7, and he takes back super effectively, which would essentially be a loss. Anyway, calculating all of the different pros to this path against the cons of it, I take, and then think. Do I really want to trade here? His fighting queen is a lot less valuable since my king is immune to it, but it threatens this nasty dark pawn to rook capture with no chance for me to take back if he gets it, as well as this steel pawn and this rock pawn. Meanwhile, my ice queen can only hit his ground rook, which is a late game piece that often sits tucked out of harm's way until later, and his flying king super effectively. It doesn't matter if you take the king super effectively, because if you take the king, you just win. Furthermore, Z's queen can hit all of these pieces for neutral damage, while mine is walled by these pieces' types, which would lose my queen if I took them. Evaluating the worth of our queens, as well as the crit and miss chance I have as win conditions, I initiate the queen trade. No crits or misses, so we proceed, though Z thinks I'm crazy for going for a win off of a crit.
Are they going for the miss to win the game? The balls.
Realistically, I would have gone for this anyway, even if there were no crits or misses in the game, as I would have had a queen trade, be up in material, and the positional advantage as I mentioned earlier. With his e-pawn missing, I'm able to develop my d-pawn, securing the middle of the board with my pawns, which is an extremely good position to have, as center stage, center board control, is really crucial to any chess game. I move to g3, keeping the pawn protected and opening up my bug bishop to defend my dragon pawn, as well as threaten Z's dark rook in case he forgets about the bishop and pushes his poison pawn. Z mentions the speculation of stream sniping.
Sometimes when people take ages to make their moves, I don't know if they're trying to listen to my thoughts to stream snipe.
But just a reminder about the 30-second stream delay. My turn started at 8:13 and ended at 7:31. This would have only given me 2 seconds of hearing his thoughts. The reality is, I was still struggling to figure out how to record this screen, but Nvidia says a supported game is required to— Shut up, Nvidia, I don't know how to fix that. It's a browser, just let me record my screen. Z moves knight to f6, a common opening development which threatens my dragon pawn super effectively. I knew there was nothing I could do to prevent losing the pawn. Pushing it doesn't threaten his knight due to the type immunity. My minor pieces are still underdeveloped, and I can't take the knight back due to the fairy being super effective on dragon. However, since the only 2 pieces it threatens from there resist fairy, I don't see this as much of a threat, and instead focus on more development and keeping momentum. I considered f4 for more center control, but this blocks in my bishop from staging a counterattack against the knight if it escapes back to f6 after taking the pawn. As I expected, he takes and retreats, which was the only square he could safely go to if he took. As such, I threaten the piece exchange by moving bishop to g5. When you're up in material, position, or any other advantage, you want to push that advantage by trading stocks. I mean pieces. Also, if he tries to save his knight by moving it somewhere safe, like d5 or d7, I can win the ice bishop. Because if the only defending piece, the king, takes back, it's not very effective, which means the king would die in the trade and I would win. Z makes the correct play with h6, and just as I go to make that trade...
Takes we take. Oh, he's missed! And that gives me the trade!
Yeah, that happens. 10% by the way. This is really bad. This is why you always need to consider what would happen if your move would miss. Is it really worth it? His pawn can take back, and even though he loses it due to the typing, he just made a pawn for bishop trade, which is very valuable. With that, he takes the lead. At this point, I'm trying to plan what I can do to bounce back. With both knights still underdeveloped and the potential to castle hidden behind one of them, I move out my flying knight. Z makes a relatively passive pawn push to e5 here. When I say passive, I'm referring to how it's important to think of what your move means to accomplish before you make it. Is it setting up for something? Defending something? In this case, this pawn is covering c4 and e4. c4 is being blocked by my knight. I no longer have an e-pawn, and moving to e4 or taking e5 would just be blundering my knight. The only thing this pawn did is prevent my push to d5, which the knight wouldn't take anyway due to the typing, but I don't have any further moves from there being blocked by the ghost pawn anyway. To get my king back into immediate safety, I castle now, which my knight c3 was preparing for. As previously mentioned, this also brings my rook out into the open. Whether Z sees the threatened mate here yet...
I kinda like that. Really threatening that Corva knight.
Well, sounds like he sees the pressure. That's a start. He's actually threatening super effective take on knight, then take grass pawn, then king. My correct play here would have been to retreat to my only safe and progressive square of e2, but still reeling from that bishop loss, how I'm behind in development, behind in material. I made the mistake moving to a4. What I didn't see is something Z did see, something his clock lead obviously helps with. Looking at you, Nvidia. His bishop can now move to d7, which completely corners my knight. I don't have any spaces to move to safely at this point, which means I would be down 2 minor pieces, my bishop and my knight. After making the move, he realizes he has me cornered.
I want this Corva knight to have nowhere left to run. And I think I've already done that. The only spot this Corva knight can move to is here, without getting hit by a super effective attack. And then we just take with the psychic. My rook's opened up. Oh, I'm feeling good about this one.
Remember, especially when you're up on time, there's no reason to rush your move before looking at what things would look like after that move. Thinking ahead is the key to chess. Now, this is really an uphill battle for me. I recognize that if his psychic pawn takes my knight, Z's rook is opened up to really threaten my rock pawn. If he takes knight b6 and I don't do anything about this rock pawn weakness, he can back row mate on a1. If I retreat to d2, his bishop can take, and if it misses, my psychic rook can't take back his dark rook, and he is threatening mate by taking super effectively and then taking with bishop, or taking psychic rook and then bug bishop. This would just be a forfeit. All throughout this, my ghost king couldn't take his rook back or I'd immediately lose due to their typing. I know I can't let this rook out. If I move back to c3, we're back to the same mate I mentioned before. Bishop takes knight, then grass pawn, then king. My only option is c5. However, when his bishop goes to take me back...
Super effect! Oh! Oh, come on!
That miss from before that cost me my bishop comes around to save me. But I'm not out of the woods just yet. My miss earlier lost me my bishop. Meanwhile, Z's miss only lost him nothing. I'm still kind of cornered. Still down a bishop and in a very bad position. I need to make some plays now. And that important miss only leaves my knight with one safe space to go to, d3, which blocks in both my underdeveloped bishop and the rook that I worked to develop. Even if I'm forcing his bishop back to a5, 2 turns of pawn pushing, a3, then b4, wouldn't threaten his bishop since he could just take grass super effectively anyway. This is a very bad position for my piece development. Now, if you're paying attention, I said there's only one safe space to go. But what about a risky space? Looking a couple of steps ahead, I see a potential win condition. If I take pawn b7, I can even up the material count, as a bishop is seen as worth 3 pawns, but Z can move his king to either c8 or c7, leaving my knight with nowhere to go once again. If he threatens this, I could push rock pawn a3 to threaten his bishop, forcing it to retreat to his only safe squares of e7 or f8, making it a very passive piece, letting my knight escape to the, for now, safe space of a5. Though this keeps me on a wild goose chase of protecting my knight while he gets to develop his entire board. But there's another way. While it's risky, I can take b7, let him threaten me with his king to c7, and bring my rook to d3. If he takes my hanging knight, I can pin his bishop to his king, which I take the opportunity to do. This lets me take the hanging bishop on the next turn, also threatening check. Z sees this and defends his bishop with pawn a5. I take a moment to consider threatening a3. Remember, his bishop is pinned, so if he retreats with it, I take his king and win. However, if he recognizes this and moves the king, I no longer have any threat of checkmate. I'm still down a knight and a bishop, and while I can take his ice bishop super effectively and then take the psychic pawn, this lets him take back with the dark rook, which not only threatens my psychic rook just by existing since I couldn't take it back, it can take back super effectively while dark is immune to psychic, but it also threatens the same back row check I mentioned earlier, which would win the bishop and then I'd be down 3 minor pieces. Seeing all of this, I decided to go with a slightly safer option of pushing the fairy pawn. This isn't much better, but doesn't pose the immediate threat of opening up his rook to the same position as before. Needless to say, my position is desperate and I'm kind of going for a Hail Mary here. But wouldn't you know it, Z gets a little cocky and thinks he's due for a crit. After all,
Maybe it's about time I deserve some good luck. If this is a critical hit, I will win.
but Lady Luck wouldn't have it that way. Your odds of something don't get better just because you've been down on your luck. A chance of a crit is still 1 in 16. Not only is it a terrible idea to make an unnecessary sacrifice like this, handing me his bishop while he's ahead in material, remember, force trades while you're ahead. And although a crit would win him the game, he doesn't get the crit. His greedy attempt at a win didn't pay off. Not only that, but look there. That's the face of someone who just remembered they were pinned.
I deserve no luck. I deserve nothing good in this world.
And just like that,
I'm gonna go take a hot shower.
this game was a serious roller coaster. Even with all of this analysis that I was thinking of throughout our entire game, I failed to consider what a bad position I would be in if my bishop missed that knight trade, and my position just snowballed from there. Luckily, I was able to lure him into a trap he didn't see coming? Seriously, how did the AI know this happened? And find a checkmate while down 2 important pieces. Well, it wasn't checkmate, there's no checkmate in this game, but you know, king take? Anyway, that's how I beat Little Z at his own game, in Pokemon chess. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I wanted to shout out our growing Discord server and subreddit. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check them out. Our Discord has an active matchmaking channel, resources to learn from, even some community-run tournaments. I really see something special in this game. With so much room to grow from here, I hope you give it a chance too. Please, I know YouTubers always say leave a like and comment, but seriously, leave a comment. What do you want to see next from Pokemon Chess? We could do a chill video, playing randoms and explain my thought process live, entering a tournament on our Discord for a more competitive tone and see how far I get, theory crafting team building. hypothetical game modes like dual typing, held items, abilities, and so much more. I'm aiming to take this channel in the variety direction, so I'm not sure how soon I'll revisit Pokemon chess content. If you liked what you watched, please show it by subscribing, liking, commenting, sharing. If you want more of this content, I need to know that people actually like it, otherwise I'll just start making more content around things I know people like, Smash and Rivals and Pokemon. Pokemon chess is small, really small, so I'm happy to be that Pokemon chess guy, but I have to know that there's an audience for it. All that's to say, thank you so much again just for watching, being here, and seeing it through to the end. I hope to see you soon.